Building relationships with your pioneer ancestors. Henry B. Eyring said, speaking of our ancestors,
"If you learn stories about their lives, write that down and keep it. You are not just gathering names. Those who you never met in life will become friends you love. Your heart will be bound to theirs forever."
Make friends now with some of your ancestors whose lives parallel the birth of our nation and the church. This is the pedigree of Deon's father, George Webster Tucker. Note George Tucker and Lindsay Anderson Brady and his wife, Elizabeth Ann. George Tucker is Deon's great-great-grandfather. George's grandfather, James Tucker Sr., fought in the Revolutionary War. His name is on the list of Revolutionary War pensioners. Lindsay and Elizabeth Brady were married on the 18th of October, 1831. They were baptized by Wilford Woodruff on the 15th of November, 1835 in Kentucky. Elizabeth's brother Jordan and her parents, Simeon and Keziah Hendrickson, were also baptized. Lindsay was ordained a deacon by Wilford Woodruff on the 2nd of December, 1836. Lindsay's family moved to Far West, Missouri in 1837. Lindsay, Elizabeth, and their 3 children's lives were deeply affected by the Haun's Mill Massacre, which took place nearby on the 30th of October, 1838. 18 saints lost their lives, and many others were wounded. The following day, General Lucas, commander of the state militia, threatened to attack Far West with his 2,500 men if church leaders did not submit to their demands. Church leaders were then arrested. One month later, on the 30th of November, 1838, Joseph Smith and 5 others were imprisoned in Liberty Jail. During the 4.5-month imprisonment, the prophet Joseph received 3 important revelations. Following the surrender of Far West, over 5,000 saints made their way to Illinois during the winter of 1838 and 1839. Lindsay Brady and his family joined the outcasts on their journey 3 weeks after the birth of their baby Elizabeth on the 3rd of March, 1839. A year and a half later, they buried their son Simeon, aged 8, in Nauvoo. Many of our ancestors lived in Nauvoo and were privileged to know Joseph Smith. Note the properties of James Tucker and Lindsay Anderson Brady. Other ancestors also lived in the area. We have a record of Lindsay Brady working on the Nauvoo Temple. It is likely other ancestors were involved too. The Relief Society was founded on the 17th of March, 1842. Elizabeth Brady joined the 13th of May, 1842, and Sarah Riddle Pyle joined the 9th of June, 1842. Imagine the sorrow of your ancestors at the news of the martyrdom of their beloved prophet. What stories could they tell of the days of mourning and turmoil? As rooms of the temple were completed, they were dedicated so the saints could participate in important religious ordinances. Ancestors who received their endowments in the Nauvoo Temple. Lindsay and Elizabeth Ann Hendrickson Brady, 1st of January, 1846. 3 weeks later, Elizabeth gave birth to twins, Tranquilla and a stillborn child. Henry and Mary Amick Maurer, the 7th of January, 1846.
Jacob and Sarah Hill Strong, the 30th of January, 1846. Jehu and Sarah Riddle Pyle Cox, 2nd of February, 1846. Henry Jr. and Susan Strong Maurer, 3rd of February, 1846. And Silas Richards, the 7th of February, 1846.
As he prepared to leave Nauvoo, Lindsay Brady received a pair of flat irons and a log chain for his city lot and brick home. On the 22nd of February, below zero temperatures created an ice bridge on the mile-wide Mississippi River. Thus the hand of Providence aided the saints as they fled from their persecutors. By May of 1846, nearly 12,000 saints had started the long westward trek. A group of saints leaving a few months later stopped across the river from Nauvoo, where they built temporary shelters and nursed their sick. With winter just ahead and starvation imminent, they prayed for deliverance. On the 9th of October, 1846, thousands of quail flocked into the camp, providing needed food for the stranded saints. Elizabeth Ann Brady's mother, Keziah Paddox Hendrickson, was very sick in their wagon. A quail lit on the wagon wheel and she reached out and caught it. Some broth was made, which she drank. She attributed her rapid recovery to this nourishment. The saints established winter encampments in Iowa and Nebraska, where they awaited better conditions for their journey westward. Jehu, age 44, and Sarah, 39, left winter quarters the 7th of June, 1848, with the Heber C. Kimball Company. Other Cox family in the company were Mary Jane, 14, Elias, 13, Rachel, 12, Jehu Jr., 11, Isaiah, 9, Lucretia, 6, and Emma, 4. Jehu and Sarah Cox's son Henderson had enlisted in the Mormon battalion at Council Bluffs 2 years earlier. He and 2 other scouts were killed by Indians during their enlistment. 662 individuals were in the Heber C. Kimball Company, which arrived in the Salt Lake Valley on the 24th of September, 1848. Hiram Smith's widow, Mary, and daughter Lucretia also traveled with this company. Meanwhile, the family of Silas Richards and his first wife experienced tragedy at Council Bluffs. On the 16th of August, 1846, their 16-year-old daughter, Elizabeth Ann Richards, died from fatigue and exposure. Her tombstone reads, "Here lonely and sad in this wilderness land, thy parents resigning shall leave thee. Sweet, sweet be thy rest, till thy Saviour's command in beauty and youth shall restore thee." 3 years later, on the 10th of July, 1849, Silas Richards, aged 41, led a company of about 100 wagons leaving Council Bluffs, Iowa. With him were his first wife, Elizabeth, 40, and children, Francis, 18, Sarah, 16, Martha, 10, and Lucy Ann, 7. Other ancestors in the company were Henry Maurer Jr., 24, wife Susan Strong, 24, son John Albert Maurer, 1, Susan's parents, Jacob Strong, 49, and Sarah Hill Strong, 42, and their youngest children, James, 7, and Hiram, 3. The company arrived in the Salt Lake Valley in October 1849. On the 17th of June, 1850, Lindsay Anderson Brady, 39, and his wife, Elizabeth Ann Brady, 36, left Council Bluffs with their children, Marion, 15, Warren, 13, Elizabeth, 11, Keziah Francis, 9, Jordan, 6, and Tranquilla, 4. Elizabeth Ann Brady was 8 months pregnant. Lindsay Anderson, Jr., was born on the banks of the Platte River on the 11th of July, 1850. The War on Foot Company, with 140 wagons and 540 individuals, arrived in the Salt Lake Valley in September 1850. Nancy Joy's husband, James Tucker, died in Lee County, Iowa, in June of 1849. 4 years later, at the age of 48, Nancy joined the James C. Snow Company, along with her children Amasa, 18, George, 14, Charles, 6, widowed daughter Sophia Elizabeth Tucker Weeks, 27, and grandson Reuben, 1. There were 250 individuals and about 55 wagons in the company, leaving Council Bluffs, Iowa. They traveled from July through October 1853. George Tucker married Georgine Dorothea Svensson in 1861 in Mount Pleasant, Utah. Georgine and her brother Lauritz Peter had been orphaned in Denmark. It is believed Georgine, 14, and her brother, 17, crossed the plains with their uncle George Jurgen Christopher Folkman, 64, and cousin Jens Peter Folkman, 28, who had joined the church in Denmark. They traveled with the C. Christensen Handcart Company from Iowa City, Iowa, June through September 1857. There were about 330 people, 68 handcarts, and 3 wagons. Henry Maurer Sr. had been a Campbellite preacher. He became converted when he allowed a Mormon elder, William Bowsley, to preach at his church. His wife, Mary Amick, died in Council Bluffs, Iowa in 1846. Henry and his second wife crossed the plains in 1851 with the John G. Smith Company. 150 wagons left Council Bluffs in May of 1851 and arrived in Salt Lake in September 1851. This brings Deon's father's pioneer ancestors to Utah. You have met Lindsay Anderson Brady and Silas Richards. Notice also Keziah Francis Brady. At the suggestion of Brigham Young, Lindsay Brady and Silas Richards did some matchmaking. The result? Silas married Lindsay's daughter Keziah, and Silas's daughter Lucy Ann married Lindsay's son Marion. Both couples were sealed by President Brigham Young on the 6th of February, 1855. Keziah was Silas's second wife. He also married Martisha Smoot the following December. During the fall of 1856, at the request of Brigham Young, Bishop Silas Richards sent men and wagons on rescue missions for the Willie and Martin Handcart Companies. In November, Silas took into his family 3 children whose parents had died on the plains. In this cherished picture, Deon is held by the daughter of Silas Richards and his second wife, Keziah. Standing at their side is Deon's brother, Robin. When you learn stories about your ancestors' lives, write them down and keep them. You are not just gathering names. Those you never met in life will become friends you love. Your heart will be bound to theirs forever.